million, and that's over the 6 school years. That's over and above what we would have expected to get under the current arrangements, or if we hadn't signed up.
Comcare has issued stop work notices at least 2 Telstra and Indian sites. What plans did you account for in terms of health risks and rollout delays when you and Cabinet signed off on the NBN deal?
Look, this is a matter for Telstra, and the Minister for Communications, Stephen Conroy, has spoken to the Chief Executive Officer of Telstra, to Mr Thodey, and made it very clear that Telstra does need to act here, and Telstra is acting. This is about Telstra's ducts and the condition that they are in. So really on specifics, you need to direct questions to Telstra, but because the Minister has spoken to Telstra, I am in a position to be assured that Telstra is acting.
Are you concerned about the fact that there has been asbestos exposure around Telstra pits in some of the work that's been done ahead of the NBN rollout?
Of course, I am concerned about asbestos, whether it's the asbestos exposure you are talking about now or asbestos in workplaces or homes anywhere. The government's taking some steps forward on asbestos eradication because we do know how dangerous asbestos can be. So I am concerned about asbestos generally. I'm concerned about this. The Minister for Communications has expressed his concerns directly to Telstra, and Telstra is acting.
Do you think the Labor Party misjudged somewhat how strongly the community felt about the electoral funding reforms?
I think what's at the forefront of community attitudes and views is what is government doing to build the future for me and my family, and that's exactly what we're here today talking about. No better way of building our nation's future than making sure our children get a world-class education. I do think the reforms have merits. I don't think people want to see private money undisclosed or having a disproportionate effect in politics. I do think that worries people. So I think the reforms have merit. Mr Abbott gave a very big tick to these reforms, but of course he's walked away from his own promises and pledges today.
He says he's listened to the people on this. Won't you as well? Do you still support the legislation?
Well, I'd refer you to Mr Abbott's letter and ask you to identify the words where he says that. He didn't. He signed on to these reforms and gave them a very big tick unconditionally.
You've spoken about the merits of the reforms otherwise, other than just the extra money. So will you push ahead with them, seeing as the main reason it appears to have stalled is because of the extra money, the extra funding? Pushing into the other things?
Absolutely. In terms of school education.
In terms of the funding, there's more scrutiny on political donations.
Look, in terms of the future of any of those proposals, we'll work that through.
Prime Minister, should David Benn be pre-selected for the seat of Brighton?
Look, well, it's actually Batman. The Minister Ferguson, former Minister Ferguson, announced to the Parliament yesterday that he won't be contesting the next election. The pre-selection process isn't even underway yet, so I haven't got any comments on it.
Prime Minister, are states and territories like the ACT and Western Australia being punished under Gonski, not getting very much money because they have very, very good education systems? They're not getting as much money, are they?
Certainly not. The architecture of this reform, and this is the fundamental principle, which is about fairness to our children and building our nation's future. We want every child to reach their full potential, but we can only be a strong, prosperous country in the future if our kids get a world-class education. So whether or not you're a parent, it matters to all of us what the quality of what's happening in Australian classrooms is. The way in which this reform works is that we would be able to be assured that for every school around the country, they have available to them the right amount of resources to teach the kids in that school, a school resource standard with loadings for disadvantages that kids can bring to school. So children with the most need have more money directed towards the schools that they're taught in. So this is a great reform right around the nation. Yes, it's true that some jurisdictions are closer to the school resource standard than others. That's absolutely right. But I want to live in a nation where we can say every school, in every state, in every territory, for every child, has the resources available to it to get the children in that school a great education.
What did you make of the speech by Tony Abbott yesterday about Martin Ferguson in Parliament?
Oh, look, I made my remarks in Parliament on Mr Ferguson.
What did you make of Tony Abbott?
Oh, look, I made my own remarks yesterday.
You speak of Mr Abbott reneging on his agreement. Isn't it just part of the political process where you listen to what your electorate says and what your backbenchers say? Isn't it a sign of his leadership, one might say, that he actually decided to listen to those concerns?
I think what actually happened here is Mr Abbott's leadership team rolled Mr Abbott. I think what's happened here is Mr Abbott's leadership team have said that Mr Abbott is not up to the job, and if his closest colleagues don't think he's up to the job, then why should anybody else?
Are you concerned that today's good announcement, the victory that you've had with your with Gonski sign-up, is that it's going to be overshadowed by something like a sandwich being thrown at you?
Oh, well, that's a question for you.
I mean, you have on various occasions changed your mind on issues and you've defended your right to do so. Is this not what Tony Abbott is doing, and should he not have the same right to change his mind?
Well, I'll direct you to the words of the letter.
You've been very strong on getting more women into Parliament. Do you think there's room, perhaps, for you to exert some of your influence when it comes to the seat of Batman? Do you think maybe a woman should be in that seat?
The pre-selection process hasn't started yet, and I'm not making any comments on it. Okay, thank you very much.